Thanks, Christina, for your presentation. Really enjoyed it, and Alice as well. So as Alice said, we'll be presenting on course selection at LSE. And what we realized when we started the project is that LSE is actually looking into this, and they've split it up into two phases of work, which are remedial and aspirational. And our goal was to provide insights specifically from the student perspective to inform both of these phases. So the way we did this was through 4 interviews and a survey. So through our survey, we managed to get 95 responses across 6 different departments, and we chose the department specifically based on what cluster they're in. So that's a thing within the LSE we didn't realize before, but different departments are put in different clusters. And the topics we covered in the survey, they were inspired by the sorts of things that people mentioned in the interviews, because we didn't want to just base the questions based on what Carla, Sonia, and I thought were the most important topics. And these ended up being the 100-word statement, the waitlist experience, the rejection experience, and then the final impact of the perception of LSE as a result of course selection. So onto the analysis of the results, we identified key pain points, and from these, we came up with some recommendations. So the 3 key themes are that they were unclear processes, there's poor communications, and there's a lack of a feedback loop between students and also for the LSE. So going to a bit deeper into the unclear processes, one of the key pain points is that there seems to be a lot of unknowns in the process. So if you take the example of being on a wait list, students weren't sure about how they could get off the wait list, if there was anything they could do to move up it, and how long they'd be on it for. And this is significant because we found in our sample that approximately 50% of students are waitlisted. And we got a few quotes as well. The one down here is someone saying, "It was obvious that students of that department would be prioritized, but after that, I was not aware of any other requirements." And our key recommendation for this is for each department to decide on a specific course application process, and also for specific course leaders to decide if they want anything in particular designed specifically for their course as well. And we think that's fine as long as they've got specific processes in place, because it means that they sort of have to commit to those, and it just makes it easier for everyone that's interested in the course. And this links to our second key theme, which is poor communications. So we found that a lot of students were finding that the communications were overwhelming, like so much all at one time, or confusing, or even contradictory when they'd be told one thing from one lecturer and then another thing from their academic advisor, for instance. So you look at the second quote, someone said, "Truly awful, course selection should have taken place at least a month beforehand." So we've got a couple of recommendations. The first one is to communicate courses earlier to spread that load of information. And an easy way to do this is to just change the default. So to send emails a month before people arrive on campus saying, "This is when we recommend students start exploring courses." Nothing about having to actually pick them yet, but just to start thinking about it so it's less overwhelming week 1, where you're meeting new people, getting used to a new space, and so on. And then our second recommendation is for all the processes that you've decided from the first recommendation, all the processes that are already in place, to be clearly communicated in one place. And we were thinking about what spot that all students do refer to, and there are 2, the course webpage, which has all the information of what a course is going to teach you, and also LSE for You, because you have to use that to apply for courses. So if you have all that information on the course webpage and clearly signpost that information in LSE for You, that should make it quite clear when the information is, and hopefully make it less confusing. And we had a long-term solution too. A piece of feedback we also got was that students weren't sure whether they'd actually made a decision when they were doing the course selection, because often you get email notifications saying, "Thanks for making this change. We confirm that this has happened," but that doesn't happen at every stage of the LSE course selection process. So onto the final theme, the lack of a feedback loop. So another thing that was really mentioned through both the interviews and the surveys is that people found it really useful hearing from previous students what they had learned. Because there's one thing if you read on the course page what you're going to be taught, but there's another, it's a different thing hearing what you're going to gain, and also what you're going to be able to, how you're going to use that information in the future. So one easy way we thought you could incorporate this is in the course evaluation surveys, the end of every term, just adding in an extra section, asking something like, what are you going to take from this course into the future? Or what would you like to say to future students that might be considering this course? And I'll skip the long-term solution because of lack of time. And then finally, lack of feedback loop for the LSE. So we know that the LSE is really trying to improve the course selection process through change makers and through an internal project. And we thought a way that they could keep track of how well they're doing is through KPIs, for instance, course selection satisfaction levels. And once again, a way they can do this in the short term is by adding this in the course evaluation surveys at the end of each term. So they could just ask, on a scale of 1 to 5, how satisfied were you with the course selection process for this specific course? And then the LSE could track that, and then if they went down for some reason, try and work out why. But we thought that would create a feedback loop, and that is everything we had in the presentation. Thank you. We look forward to your questions.